Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to another gorgeous episode of Age of Awæcnian.
I love the numbers.
I know it's 50. It was 5:05 when we went live. What's coming up in the cards,
505,
please?
and the first card is a 5. The first card is a 5. It's the wisdom card, which I believe translates to the sun card in standard tarot, but I will have to have a look. But yeah, it's the number 5 card. Oh, sorry, the Hierophant.
Oh, yes. And you know what?
So deep ancestral wisdom.
Yeah. The teacher, the wisdom, the knowledge. And our beautiful guest is like on the same vibe as us, like working with children and families and bringing that essence forward of awakening hearts and minds, which is beautiful. And I'm so excited to be introducing the beautiful Matilda Leche. I think I said that correctly. And she is a beautiful healer, spiritual guide, and Matilda helps children connect with their authentic nature and thrive. With her many years of experience and understanding of children's energy and energy systems, she helps children and families align with their highest well-being and soul mission. She also has a certification program, the Divine Child Healers Program, and she assists parents and professionals in opening to their innate healer abilities and becoming frequency leaders in their families or in their workplace. Welcome, Matilda.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here and be with you two again after the summit. Yeah.
Beautiful. Matilda was one of our guests on our Mum Summit, and she works with a lot of mums and families, and it was so beautiful to have her on one of our panels talking into this intuitive growth for our children. And so, Matilda, I suppose in your own development and your own story and journey, were you always like attuned? I always like find this question fascinating because I know some people like like just gifted and remembered, but for me there was like kind of a knowing, but I had to like go through all the human things, and then I had massive activations as an adult. So were you always really quite intuitive as a child?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, because I was when I was very little, and in my first years, I think until I was around maybe 5 or 6, and I really started to align with the collective consciousness. I'm really good at adapting, and I think that is for many of us that were really like intuitive awakened kids. We were really very much looking around and see, how do I need to be in order to fit in, how do I need to be in order to be right, because we come into this world of duality. We feel, oh, there's something there is a way to be right, so how about aligning with that? That feels best, right? Not go around and do my own thing, talking with the trees and things and animals and things like that, because no one else does that, it seems, at this point. So like many others, I chose to then go into the collective beliefs and I will say I really dive deep into it. And yeah, my mom was a shaman, and she also did like spiritual work with us as children. So for me, at that time, it was like normal. But then I became older, realizing, oh, it's not normal in all families everywhere. So I wanted to be fitting in, playing with the other kids. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
powerful.
know that feeling very well. I did the same thing.
yeah.
Yeah, me too. And it was like coming from my side, my there was a lot of witch doctor medicine in the I suppose the Filipino culture, and a lot of superstition. So growing up I like shunned a lot of it and going, nope, that's not normal.
Mm.
And then coming into motherhood and a whole heap of things, a lot of going back into the lineage was really activated. But I love hearing people's stories of like how they grew up and kind of where they were at, um, because yeah, it's so fascinating because everyone's on their own awakening journey and coming back into remembering the essence of who we are. And I know you work with a lot of children who already, probably very confident and remembering and already knowing all the things from like past lives and gifts coming online. I'd love for you to share, without obviously saying who, but in your experience of working with young children that are very gifted, what have you been noticing, I suppose, in the last 5 years or so that have come into your field in the work that you do?
Yeah, so I think it's very much like mimicking my own process, that they start out being attuned. They start out being aligned with who they are, and then they adapt. Because the thing is, when you are so attuned with energies, you can also feel what's welcome and what's not. And as I just share what's normal and what's not. And we have this innate desire, as long as we are in the mammal body, attuned with survival, like what do I need to do in order to fit in? So I see these children comes with really strong abilities to feel energy, feel thoughts, feel emotions. And yeah, you can say unfortunately the ability to adapt, but it's a survival mechanism, right? And as long as it's active, we will see these, that they adapt, these adaptations. You can also see some children that are not, and they are also very supported in carrying their own energy forward, or maybe they have parents who really honor and value their individuality. Because one of the things we get to learn is that the children are bringing the new, and that was not how it used to be, right? It used to be that children had to learn from the adults and had to fit in. So the carpenters' children became carpenters, the mechanics' children became mechanics. It was like you have to fit in the family culture and become one with that. And now it is changing, because we as a human species want to evolve. We want to become aware of our own divinity. So for the children, it's very much that they are very attuned and aware. And yes, they have abilities to see and experience things. So the parents I work with are the awakened ones. So they are the ones who are really supporting their children, allowing this change to happen in the family. So what I see for the very new children is they come and might not want to dive into the same density that we did. So I think we can all like see ourselves in those experiences of really going into the denseness, as you also said, Marie, that like really distancing ourselves from some things and really feeling those energies. That was like part of our soul work. We wanted that. We wanted to pave the way. And some of the new ones, they do not want to go into that. They want to like hit the earth running, or whatever you say. Like they just want to start creating, and we create with our energy field, we create with our bodies, with our emotions. So they just want to stay aligned to their truth. And that's why many chose to incarnate in families that are already awakened to some degree.
Oh, I love that. I had a bit of a rude shock the other day, or it was an aha moment for me, and I've had lots of little spiritual awakening moments. I thought I was very aware and awake as a child, like the mythical, the other side, like the universal concepts were never something that was too far from my imagination. It was like, oh yes, I understood that concept, but the fitting in, and I'm fairly sure it's like generations and generations of my family trying to fit into, or to not fit in, to actually rebel against the um the norms, which was my mother's case. In these scenarios, like there was there was these moments where I'd lost myself, and it was like trying to then follow their suit of like, okay, we've got to fit in, so I lost all of that sort of innocence. It's like, no, okay, that was just the fantasy part of my head, that was just my trauma, that was the excuses and all of these type of things. But in the last couple of years, it's come becoming more aware of how often we can awaken into new states and new awareness. It's like, yeah, I can think, oh, I'm very aware and alert now, but then every day, like a new understanding hits me, and it's like, oh, it's as simple as the the mess, or what you see as a reflection of the mess in the on the world, or in the earth, on the earth, is actually the mess within you. Like when you think of what you see and what you do, it's that reflection within you. And like we have these conversations about our body and how it shows us like exactly what's wrong. And it's like, well, if the mess of the world is a mess within me, why am I seeing everything as so destructive and so negative? And it's like, oh, okay, because I think that about myself. It's these
Yeah.
like little spirals of like, that's what you're going to notice. And it was such an aha moment, because it was like a rude shock and a slap in the face. It's like, oh, that's why I'm just noticing all the garbage of the world, because the only things I notice about myself are the same negative type of traits. And it's like, ah, aha, there we are. Nice spiritual moment and awakening there. Is something as simple as just a statement that hits you at the right moment. And having that support and that awareness that I've noticed with a lot of the kids is, the minute you suggest a possibility, the openness is like, yes, finally someone gets it. And for me, I always like question the rules. It's like, why is this color blue? Like, who, like, there's a perfect example. Like, how many shades of blue do I have on right now? Like, but they're all blue. How do you differentiate? How do you discern the difference? Like, all of these shades of blue, we're told the sky is blue, but I've seen the sky orange, purple, black, gray, like green, every color under the sun, but the sky is blue. These concepts that are just like statements of expression are things that need to be taught to our younger people. It's like, how else are we expressing? And I feel like school and education stuffs a lot of people up in that mindset, because it's like, well, English is just learning about language. No, it's learning about expression. It's learning about the concept of, well, which shade of blue do you want to actually wear? And how do we discern the difference between navy and cauliflower or cornflower blue? I never understood that one. Isn't cornflower white?
I love that, Flea. And yes, it feels very much like that. And the thing is, when we come into the earth, nothing has like a finite value. It's not like this is right, this is wrong, this is blue, this is red. We learn it all, and therefore we in a way are wired to learn it through our bodies. But many of the new earth children come in and they desire to come in a level of neutrality. Neutrality is the energy of love. That is the energy of universal love, where everything can coexist at the same time. So for many, they will challenge that, and that was the same for me in the beginning of my journey. Also, as a healer, I was still taught that, and when I say still taught, I'm giving my power away. I'm letting someone else decide what's right for me, right? So I was still taught, I was still giving my power away and letting someone else say how I should become a healer, helping the children to fit into this society, like helping them to understand, become themselves, but within this framework. And in that process, I really awakened to see that we give everything the value. We create the reality. We can choose to create a different reality. And really, on the small level, what feels right, what feels good for you. We often tend to have an emotion based on what we think is the right perspective on this. Oh, this is failure. What just happened is failure, so I should be sad. But really, you don't have to be sad at all. So feel into what is your soul's perspective on this. Oh, this is great. I love this experience. I think there's this experience, and it was in the process of going through difficult experience, presumably difficult experience, labeled by others, where I felt like my soul, when I listened to my soul, it was above and beyond excited about what was going on. And when I was tuning into that, I had really such great power to move through this experience, because my soul was not seeing this as a failure, as wrong as anything. It was like, I created this. This is magical. And feel, wait, feel on the other side of this how much love there is. You created this because you want to experience the love on the other side. There is nothing to judge. And that is what you will see for many of the children. That's why they don't feel very good around people who have the very negative energy. They're very much, this is right, this is wrong, you should see it this way, this is like political, this is awful. And I think we can all remember a time as a child where we're sitting there listening to an adult that just go blah 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 about a certain thing that's really negative, and it's like, and these are the perspectives you should have on it. And I remember that as a kid and just sitting there like, okay, so that's my new opinion, great. And now I'm the same as others, so that's great, I guess. But still, growing up, it's like, wow, what a liberation to no longer having to allow that, like no longer believing I have to sit there and listen, and I can be like, I see and hear you, and within me, I know you come from a wounded place, and it's okay. It's completely okay. You can be where you are, but I'm not aligning with that reality, perspective on reality. I represent something else. We all here to represent something different. We all here to have our own perspective. So I align with my perspective. And I know for the New Earth children, many resonate with that because they love the soul's energy of freedom and power to decide, power to create, the possibility of creating anything you want. We often have these like sentences we learn children, like, you can't have it all. In Denmark, it's very much, you can't expect something if you don't like work hard for it. And it's like, those are beliefs. You don't have to align with those beliefs. You can say everything comes to me easily. I can have it all. It doesn't mean that mom and dad will be the ones giving me the all, but I can have it all. And really allowing for some new beliefs to come in and see, okay. And I hear that from the parents. I can feel that in the parents, like many of those I work with, like, how do we balance things like lack, and like how many ice creams can they have if there is no lack? The thing about it is you can teach them and share with them the limitless nature of reality, and so at the same time sharing your boundaries. It's like, this is a personal perspective for me. I don't want you to have more ice cream. I want to use my money on other things. Or I think I love it when you have appetite for the dinner as well, but still be okay with also conveying those other messages. So I think that's where many parents are now that I work with, balancing like the limitless nature of reality, and then also being a human being with boundaries and desires and bedtime and things like that. So, but I think the beautiful thing about this is that there are no right and wrong here, and it's about for everyone to tune in with their own wisdom in that sense. It's not anything I can tell how to do, then you should navigate it this way, because the point is not for someone outside to tell you. The point is to come in and feel your own wisdom and what is right in your specific case. Yeah.
So much gold in that beautifully articulated share. And it's that changing the lens of like noticing what is in alignment to you. And I feel teaching kids, and this is why Flea and I created the academy, is like, well, how do we allow those pieces of navigating self and knowing how to discern for you and your truth and your wisdom, as well as being aware of the world and all the physicality of and the materialistic parts of being in the physical 3D, and navigating that. Because, you know, I think us being the bridge makers in our generation and growing up with those mindset pieces, like I know my parents were like, you got to work hard. And then I noticed like the perfectionist traits and the people pleaser parts and all the things. But what I'm seeing now in kids and teens who have this activated freedom, there is like, I suppose in the schools that I've seen, there is this like wild side that wants liberation, that wants freedom, so much so that they're testing the boundaries because they're screaming, like literally screaming. I can feel their souls screaming for like, is this it? Give me more. Like this is not challenging, or my I'm not being met. And because they're being confined in classrooms, or they're being confined to work booklets or this or that, and I understand that it is really hard in some socioeconomic backgrounds where you know the culture and maybe the demographic or situational family concerns are really difficult and challenging. But I see like these little sparks and these beautiful rewilded children who are wanting, and I can see it in their eyes, like I can see the wisdom in their souls, but it's almost like some of the system or large parts of it, there is lots of beautiful things in the education system and the people that are in there. There is still beauty, but I can feel like this soul crushing disconnect. And this is why Flea and I, like, you know, join forces, and our soul mission is to bring that connection back in the way that what we're doing, and still understanding the old and the new world. I'd love to know like your insights on, I know you're working with the awakened parents and children, but knowing that there are kids, these star seeds that are born into hardship because they're here to heal a lot. Not only they're already healed, but they've got to live this experience. Like, what's your perspective on these beautiful little beings that have a lot of intergenerational trauma, that they're physically healing within self and with their family lineages? Like, I'd love to know your insights on that, and also the neurodivergency in like some of the big pieces in their behavior and their attitudes, and what society misinterprets as a disability or a learning difficulty.
I love that, Marie. And I also love that you say they're healing and then they're not, because that's the thing. We can feel like, what is actually going on there? They're coming whole and complete, and why do they still have something? And the thing is, our highest vibrational part of us is our soul. And that is, of course, whole and complete. And the thing is, the body is also whole and complete. It just doesn't know it. And therefore, it aligns with a different reality. So you can say the soul come in knowing it's whole and complete, comes into this body where there are these misalignments, and that's on purpose. We are creating this to have the human experience and have the experience of separation, and be able to experience ourselves, the reuniting with the divine aspect of ourselves. But back to the question, they come into these families and they desire to integrate that energy of wholeness and completeness into that family line. So they come into this body who has all these beliefs running. And you can see in the first years, they might not be activated. So therefore, the child might express its full self. But it might experience a lot of chaos, a lot of noise, a lot of emotional noise if it's a child that's completely aligned with the mother's nervous system, which children often are. They come out, and then they start to align because they start to learn how do I need to be and cope with this human reality. So they start to learn from those nervous systems that are most close to them, which is often the mother when she's sitting and nursing the child. And then in the first years they might have experience, they might have loud noise triggering some things in them, then they might have something else, and then as they grow closer to 6, 7, 8, 9, come up into the teen, they will have these experiences activated that they might never have gone through themselves. And that can actually be things like sexual abuse, which I often mention because it's really an important thing, because that's really an important thing for all mothers and fathers to look into. What is there that I need to align within this part of the sacral and the root within my body? How can I align these to the higher energies? Because those are some of the energies that we are still to look at. We are still to integrate the higher energy into them. Some of us are really into this, and I know both of you are, but for many other in the society, shame, judgment, all this suppression, not feeling safe in this world, is really, really dominant, more than your divine connection to earth, your divine connection to your body. So many children will have these things activated, and it can make so much noise that they no longer feel this pure, clear connection to their higher selves. So they can no longer hear that. And it's a little sad. I can feel that when I mention it. It feels a little sad. But also know it's by design. We come in high vibration, easier to connect with our higher self, our higher path. When we come in, we adapt or have this experience of trauma or passed on trauma. We lower vibration, we become less and less connected to the higher self. And that really pure voice coming through. And we can, and it's important to keep in mind when we think about the children experiencing this, they can release that again and raise their vibration. So that's why we're doing what we're doing. We're showing them, oh, you can dive into the very deepest, darkest places and you can come out again. And that's what we're sharing with the children. So you can say all of us have been diving into families, probably releasing all these things, coming back out and saying, see, this is how you can do it. We made a step, a staircase, a bridge, whatever you will call it. So that is what many of the children are experiencing. They come in, they lower their vibration, and if there's no one to listen or awaken within that family, they will move on when they're out of that family. If they can, of course, some children will not be able to transcend. We know that from our friend groups, maybe early in life. Not everyone are capable in this lifetime, but you will have more chances. There will be more lifetimes. And that is to be okay with that and say, okay, that is it. But I'm sure for all parents listening to this, or adults, school teachers, whatever, nurses listening to this, you know that you are creating that. You are helping the children by having your own experience of coming back into the light. You're showing the children that this is possible. See, this is how you do it. And you don't even have to say anything because you're sharing your energy with them and the imprint, the steps in that way. So I think, was that answering the question, Mary? Yeah.
Oh, Flea, I can't hear you. I knew she was going to... Can you hear Flea? I knew she was going to add something to this beautiful conversation. That's why I was pausing. Can we hear you now, Flea?
Come back, microphone. No.
But while Flea is fixing her mic, just feel free to... I know! Oh, there's so much in what you just shared, particularly about, you know, some of those darker experiences. Because Flea, you flicked out and then you came back in. So I wonder if it's something, and she's frozen now. Oh no. But this piece around knowing that we can come back and come back and rebirth, and that power in that.
Yeah.
Are we working now, Flea?
I think I'm still glitchy. Can you hear me though?
We can hear you.
You can hear me?
Yeah. You just had to reincarnate. Doing it
It's
perfectly.
so frustrating. Oh, it's frustrating. Tech, I love it and I hate it, and I guess that's also part of, I guess, what I wanted to speak on, which is the beautiful kids, and like they do need their imagination. They do need something to look forward to, something to aim for that's outside of the norm. Like so many of us as parents, it's like, oh yeah, let's grow up and go to school to be this, and we're setting these limitations on like what the world's going to be like for them. And for a lot of kids, like they're seeing their parents in this mode of like, why would I want to be you when you're not even happy in your life, in your job, in your careers? And like this is what I'm noticing, and why I left the education system was that this idea of hope had disappeared. And it's like, I don't want that life, is what the kids were telling me in the schools, in your high school. It's like, this is why we need to listen to kids. It's like, I don't want that life. And if kids are saying that they don't want to live past like 20 and 30 because they don't want the life of their parents, why are we pushing it? Why are we forcing this these roles and these ideals onto them? We should be, okay, well, what else could it be? Let's look at where they want to take the earth and the world and the innovation and the ideas. And I guess that's a lot of what we're creating here, and why we want to hear the children's voices. It's This is that hope. And for me, I know I need that. Like I've spent many times like crying my eyes out to Marie, going like, I just need that hope. I need something to cling to. I need this idea that things will get better. Because if things continue in this path where kids don't have hope and they don't have passion, and, what else is there? Like, we've got to start going, okay, well, what do you want, and listening to these kids, and especially these star seeds that are very focused in their mindset, because they know the way to change the world. And sometimes it is just in this, I can master myself right now. I know what my attention, what my mind, what my passion is. It's right here. Let me become the best person that I can be in this area. And that's showing us exactly what we need and want as adults, is to be the best version of what we know we love to do at our core, at our heart. And the kids are showing us that. We just need to go, okay, yeah, we can. We can actually move forward in this new way, in this new earth idea.
Definitely, Flea. I feel that, and that is so powerful. And I think what is I want to mention in relation to that is also that our soul has a plan. It has a plan already. So we might think, oh, I'm surrendering to nothing. Like I have to come up with it, just me. And then it's like, no, your soul has a plan. Yes, exactly. Tune in with that deep master within you. We all have a master self. So that is also what I'm helping the parents and adults I work with to see within the children. Your child is a master. Your child is a master of reality. We all have that potential. Some are further from it than others. It was fun. I just became familiar yesterday with like actually both Steve Jobs and Mark Zuckerberg. They went to India. I'm not sure Mark did go, but he asked Steve Jobs what to do like before he invented Facebook. And he said, look, go to this master in India and spend time there, because that's where he had downloaded all the thing about Apple. And it was the same guru that Ramdas went to before becoming Ramdas. The thing about allowing your soul to speak to you, so you know which way to go, I thought it was so fun, because those are really big soul paths they have chosen. They have chosen a lot of impact, and we all have those potentialities within us that we can move with our highest path. And it doesn't mean that everyone needs to become a new Ramdas or whatever it is and impact many. We are in a different time now. We are in the age of Aquarius, right? So we are meant to find the master within. But that also speak to the children, that they are meant to find and connect with their inner master, their inner guidance. And I think one of the things we have to really surrender into, and also as adults, is the older generation are not meant to see the light in us in a way. let me explain this a bit. Many come in and feel that they were never acknowledged for their true abilities by their parents. It's like, no, and that is a part of it, because you're bringing the new. So the parents cannot necessarily see that you were a great light in the world. They could not see the genius you were, because they had learned to adapt. And as you just mentioned, Flea, they had learned to fit in that life. So if we can get over that hurt of not being acknowledged for who we truly are, and come in and seeing, I am meant to see my light. I am meant to acknowledge the power within me. I am meant to see the worth and value of who I am and move with that energy. Then it becomes much easier. And yes, we can see the children, but there might also be things where we're like, oh my God, you're never gonna go anywhere with that attitude or ability, but we're not right about it. It's just because we don't have the imagination maybe for that child to see that those abilities are actually expanding into that other ability and that other ability, and helping to them to like fulfill their soul's mission. So we're not always able to see. When I tap in to the future of some of these children, I'm like, I have no idea what this child will be doing, but there are these elements in it. I think it's a thing that's not developed yet. So I can't really recognize what it is that the child is, but it is something with emotions, or it's something with seeing sacred geometry out in nature, and they gain a lot of like informations that I don't get, and really seeing that is by design in a way.
I
So
love that. And it's interesting you said those two pieces, because like the emotional body and nervous system is something that I've really learnt to master with myself. And the sacred geometry and the wisdom that Flea's downloading is like boom, 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 boom. Like that feels good. I can't read that. That's like, but it feels good when I see it. And then like it activates knowingnesses within me. But like you said, it's this piece around they've got the gifts, they're here to forge new ways, and how we operate in this human body and this vehicle is going to shift and change, so it's going to be new. But the mastery of what we as the adults get to bring is understanding how to manage the actual physical, the nervous system, so it can handle and have the capacity to then do the things that they're meant to do. And so even with all of this openness of what's coming through, what's your perspective then on having boundaries? And I don't like to say, like, because I see in schools people punishing kids and trying to put boundaries in, and sometimes it's needed, but sometimes it's like it's maybe the wrong type of boundary for that child. But there is, I suppose, a sense of discipline that I've noticed that I still feel is required to allow the resistance, but to also allow a safe space for that energy to kind of feel into all the things. So where's your take on having, and it may feel harsh at times, but having boundaries, but also having that refined discipline to allow, allow that capacity to kind of grow, because sometimes we do need resistance and we do need those sparks for the openings to happen, if that makes sense,
yeah,
without being in, I suppose, that old paradigm of what people think is punishment, or the pain body or suffering or those things, but still having boundaries and knowing that there is still parts of ourselves that require suffering, and understanding what the body needs to go through in order to shift. So where's, I suppose, it's broad, without
yeah,
violence,
I
without,
love that.
but there is
Yeah.
still like for me, for example, in some of these schools, I have to bring on the dragon voice. I actually have to tap in to a deep place to set clear boundaries for these children to then actually come back into a place of calm. So I'd love
Yeah.
to know your take on that and what your insights are.
I feel there's so many things on that. I will start out by sharing something. I work with the goddesses as well. They were sharing about children and raising children. And Heather said, like, one of the things you're here is to teach your child about the nature of this illusion, the nature of reality and this illusion, and that your senses are can be deceiving you. Like, what are our senses? They're just translating vibration. and how to work with that. And that just makes so much sense to me. And at the same time, I had never worked with it myself. That's never had not been my focus when I'm around children, to teach them about what you see with your eyes. It's just a perception, all those things. But I think I want to mention it here because I know some of the parents listening will be somewhere. It's like, oh, okay, they're on the forefront of being with their own children and seeing these different ways of being, to understand that everything we experience through the human body are the illusion of this reality, like it's a dream reality. And also understand how you can work with the senses and understand that we are in this, like, what we have taught them until now is often about limitations, but we can open that up and become teachers of perception instead of creation. So that being said, I want to move into what you just asked, because I feel it's a really, really important question, because we feel the thing about boundaries, and we don't want people to overstep our boundaries. First, I want to say boundaries is really an inner job. There's such a great difference in we believe. If we believe that people will accept our boundaries and respect our boundaries, and if we feel they won't, it's so different in how we put it out. It's almost like if we don't believe it, they won't respect it. So they can feel the energy of it. They can feel, oh, I'm meant to push against. I'm meant to, this is my role. So it feels like this energetic, like, construction. Oh, now I'm meant to push your boundaries because you send out this and you won't listen and you won't respect my boundaries. So you're like, okay. So if you instead go in and work with visualizing that people understand your boundaries, how does it feel to have your boundaries on you? Then it will be a different experience. And then it will feel more clear how to act in the situation. And also, I think we all try maybe early in our life to set up boundaries on behalf of others, or on, like, what we learn. And then you, for example, in schools, then you're supposed to not let the children do this or that. And it's not a boundary you believe in, or you think it's silly. And it's so difficult to reinforce that boundary because you're like, I don't believe in it. It's much more difficult. There's no energy in it. So first and foremost, I believe it's about feeling our own boundaries, what is true to us. And I also see the construction of being one with so many children. That can be a bit of the burden of the nervous system, as you said, Mary. It's like maybe we're meant to just choose the number of children we feel we are able to deeply connect with. Flea, do you want to say anything, or I saw your hand?
Hey, no, it's the beautiful cards that pop up that just clarify everything that you've been talking about there, the unity and the prosperity. But what I love so much about this, it's the birth of creation. Like when we come together, and like another aha moment for me is like what Marie and I are doing is bringing together like a project directory. It's like that goal set. Like when we're part of something, when we get to be part of the celebration, part of the I built that building, or I was part of that production, or I helped do this little bit. It doesn't really matter how grand the scale is. It's that celebration of I was part of that. Without me, that thing, potentially wouldn't be like it is that like today. And that's the creation reality that we're speaking of. Like when we think it, when we know it, when we believe it, that project reality gets to come, that celebration. And it all happens with a choice. It's like understand the intention behind your choices and teach your children the same thing. Like, okay, well, why did you come and dob? Was it for attention? Was it for recognition that, okay, well, look, other people do the wrong thing, so don't pick on me next time? Like, let's actually have these conversations with our kids so that they understand themselves, like, why am I actually doing this? A lot of the times I ask kids, like, are you hurt? Do you need to go to the hospital do you need, a bandage or stitches and no. So you're not actually hurt. No. Okay. So what's happening now? Are you upset? Okay, that's a different emotion, and having that conversation with them, like, you've just come, "Oh, I've got to go to the sick bay and get this and that," and why? You're not actually hurt. Do you understand why you're coming to me right now? You're emotional. You're sad. You're feeling left out. You're feeling abandoned by your friends. That's very different. And these are the conscious conversation. These are the things that we get to do when we're informed in our decision making and we go with those choices. And pretty much everything that everyone has said just reaffirms all of that. And it's that wisdom, that number 5 wisdom, the hierophant, that comes in, that we all know to be true. Like, we can talk science, we can talk medical fields, we can talk naturalists, spiritual, you can go down to realists and even like the antichrist. It's all the same truth. It's just a different expression of it, that we are the creator of our reality. And if we want to believe we're cursed by the devil, well, we are. Because we believe it to be true. And if the opposite is true, that we believe we can empower people with our words and our choices, then we do that. And we come on shows like this and we do things like this where we can connect and we can say, actually, I'm not different. I'm the same. I believe the same thing. And Matilda, you've just clarified a lot of things for me that I already knew. And Marie does that for me as well. And that's the beauty of the beautiful unity and the connection when we come together with intentional choice.
So beautiful. And this piece around perception and knowing that this reality is an illusion. And like you said, Flea, whether we create our own hardships and our own hells and our own heavens. And being in the process of being on the journey, that's the key part of being in the eternal now, which is part of the mastery of the lesson. And our children are always in the present. Like, that's the biggest gift. If any adult is listening to this, that's the biggest gift. They're always in the present. They haven't got the constructs that we have of like worrying too much about the past or thinking too much in the future. So how can we bring that inner child? I pulled a card yesterday about the inner child with a beautiful client, and it's like, how can we bring that inner child back online and know that we have the capacity to manifest and shift our own reality, because we are in a new timeline now and we are preparing for a world, and this is future talk, that is for the generations to come and come and come and come, that after we pass on in this physical body. But it's also like this beautiful piece of marrying the worlds of the gifts of the past and bringing it into the present. And I feel like the children now who that I still come into contact with, there's such beautiful spaces and settings that I've been in, whether in schools or whether they're in after school dance programs, or whether in the family community groups that I'm in, where I like notice like this beautiful energy and this frequency that is now multiplying. And you then start to feel it. And it was like that piece earlier about noticing, the shifts and the changes around you. And if we are cultivating our heart, cultivating the inner world, as you said, Matilda, and Flea as well, then we start to attract and see the unicorn people around, the magical dragons and the fairy energies, and feel it in people's hearts and what they get to create in their worlds and their realities. And I talk to trees like you, Matilda. And it was interesting when you said that at the beginning. I'm like, oh yes, I talked to and I remember being in a staff meeting, and I started in this open space, and one lady felt confident enough to say, oh, I do speak to my beautiful tree because it's blooming. I'm like, yeah, me too. And it just became normalized. Others may have thought we were being metaphorical, but I know that she wanted some validation. I'm like, you know what? I speak to the trees too, because science also shows when you listen to music and when you speak to them, that, just blending the worlds. But it gets to be more normalized, and this is where the realities start to blend and become one and get to dance with all of that. And our children are bringing that forth even at a faster rate than we can realize, which is so, so exciting. Anyway, like I said, we've gone almost to the hour, and Matilda, you've just like sparked all of this amazingness for Flea and I as well, and we love having these conversations. But how can people, if they've loved listening to you, how can they connect with you and contact you and get involved with some of the things that you're doing?
Oh, many ways. Can I share something about what you just, comment to what you just said? Yeah, because I want to go a little back also at the boundaries, because what you said just inspired me to this, to remember that the goal is not to not have any boundaries. Where we are in a path also like resurrecting the divine feminine and the divine masculine. And the divine masculine in his purity and his beauty, he holds the space. So also to have boundaries can be a safe thing, to have a structure to lean into, to say, and also having the boundaries in the time where the child is screaming and getting all, and still having that calm boundary, like, I got you, but we're not going there. You're not going to have more ice cream, but I got you, and I'm here, and this is the structure you can lean into. So that is part of the nervous system feeling safe, that they can have a safe structure to lean into. And that goes for ourselves, because that was what made me remember this, our own divine child, that we have the safe structure within us as well, and say, I support you, and I'm here to hold you and really be the safe structure for you to lean into in all your emotions and intuitions and whatever it is. Yes, and how they can reach me. And my website is awakenwithmatilda.com. And I do adult sessions, I do child sessions, and in the freebie I shared with in the summit, there is a coupon code if anyone want to go and have a session for their child. That's really a way to dive deeper into also understanding incarnation themes, because we go into that there. We go into it's, and I want to say it's a remote session where the child is not connected. The child might not even know we're doing the session, depending on the parents. So we can assist them from behind the scenes, but in that you can also learn like what is the higher agreement you have with your child in this lifetime, and what is the child moving through, and also looking at some of what we talked about, some of the patterns from the family, and we're helping the child to let go of them and come back into alignment with their divine self, and remembering that they are whole and complete, they are healed by nature. So in case they have forgotten through their first years. So I think that is pretty much it. I've enjoyed being here with you so much. It's been such a beautiful, beautiful, deep conversation.
Blending of the worlds. How perfect. A beautiful way to end today's session. It's the coming together.
I love that. I love that. And folks, if you want to check out Matilda's session from our Mum Summit, you've got to come back and check it out on www.awæcniacademy.com. Sign up. You can get that beautiful coupon code, that freebie there. You can get all the amazing content from this year's summits. We're up to summit number 6 this year, which is amazing. Flea doing fabulous work in the back end, and just like there's so much amazing transformative work connecting with people like Matilda if you're resonating, and just really finding the real gems and the facilitators, coaches, mentors, teachers, everyday amazing leaders in the world that are really going to hold you. And I feel like Flea and I attract really stunning human beings and essences that are here for this transformation. And if we start coming together more and creating more safety in conversations like this, come and check out, come and learn from each other. And we're here to support that in community. So yeah, come and check it out, guys. Come and connect with Matilda. And we so look forward to seeing you on our next podcast episode soon. Thanks, Matilda. And we'll see you guys later. Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.